we have this rule in the firm that is you've got to AI yourself.
James, welcome to the show.
Incredible. Great to see you, Andrew.
Tell me a few of the projects that you've worked on in your career.
It's been an awesome journey. I was really fortunate to work for a company called Arup, big leading engineering firm, famous for designing iconic buildings around the world. And one of my favorite projects was Sagrada Familia. We were finishing the work of Gaudi 100 years after his death. And that just finally finished last week. It's a massive cathedral in Barcelona. It's now become the tallest church in the world. And if you get a chance to go, it's a real magical place.
Great project. How do you describe your specialism within engineering?
My big focus was on glass and glass structures and how to take this material that's super fragile, that breaks, how to take that, but use it in buildings which need to resist earthquakes, need to resist hurricanes. And there's a lot of very complex, detailed engineering work that goes into making glass safe to use in these big projects.
Where have you worked then? It sounds like you've traveled a lot.
I have worked out of London, but from there we were working across projects all around Europe and the Middle East as well. Was building glass houses in the desert of Oman, was building projects across Europe. And then I was out in California, in San Francisco, and worked on a lot of the big tech campuses that were being built at that time in Silicon Valley.
AI Upstarts is all about how people are using AI in their engineering work. Do you want to tell me about that example that you gave me, which was how you used Claude to take an old report and turn it into a template for your team?
In very simple terms, you can open up Claude, you can drop in the report, just upload it. You can then talk with Claude and get it to do what you want. And it might be that you want to think, okay, you could type in, get rid of all of the project specific information here and generalize it to be applicable to any project in the US. And Claude will then be able to read that uploaded Word document. It will be able to understand all the different paragraphs, the project context, and it will then be able to go through and generalize all these paragraphs and tables to make this template then usable for other projects. So it's super powerful. We usually find actually that with a lot of these AI tools, it won't get it right first go. You'll open up that Word document template and see, oh, it hasn't, this paragraph, it hasn't updated for some reason. And then you can sort of work with it and iterate with it and say, update the chapter on the project location. You've missed a bit here. And it will often then be able to spot that with that bit of extra prompting and dive in and update it.
Engineers often will take a similar project they've done before and they'll take the drawings or the elements of them, or they'll take the documents and then they'll kind of edit them for a new project. So there is that idea of reuse, but it's not done very systematically. And I always ask people, I'm like, when was the last time your template was updated? And the answer is always ages ago, because we just don't have time. Like, who has time or billable hours to update the templates for stuff? No, I'm busy working on project work. And so AI potentially brings that possibility of systematizing the work and the things that you repeat in a much more sophisticated way than was ever possible before.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely true that the classic is most engineers just grab their last report and use that. Or they have a message around the team and it turned out that, Bob was working on a similar project a couple of years ago. He can provide some info. And there is, in a sense, that is quite efficient in a way. Like, you are reusing things. You are grabbing chapters, you're pulling design details that we used from before, and you're mashing it together with this extra context of the project that you're working on at the time. But I do think a challenge has been, for most firms, all that information is just scattered across their different job folders. There's never been the technology available to pull it together reliably. And I think for the first time, AI is giving a glimpse of what that could look like and how these established firms can unlock that goldmine of past project data is, I think, a work in progress, but quite an exciting one that they're striving towards.
Awesome. All right, we're going to move to quick fire round now. I am going to shout out some AI companies, and I want you to just give your first impression. Copilot.
Bad.
Okay. ChatGPT.
Personal.
Google Gemini.
Integrated.
Are there any other AI tools that you would call out?
Claude is an obvious one, and incredibly powerful, amazing at code generation.
Of all the skills in using AI, what are you personally truly world class at?
writing up the existing conditions sections of technical reports. You can imagine if you're writing a wetland delineation report, there's information that gets pulled down from different wetland directories and data sources. Equally, if you're writing a road safety audit, you're going to be writing up a lot of DOT data from your state. And so we've been using AI to plug into all those different data sources, pull down based on different site locations, that information, and then draft it up into the language and structure that we do on a regular basis in the firm. So you can just click a button now for a given site, pull all that info down and draft it up into those few pages in your technical report.
That's awesome. Do you think there's something in particular about engineering or construction or our kind of industry that AI and tech people do not get?
I think there's probably a couple of things. The first is that engineers, construction engineers, are inherently skeptical people. Like, their job is to make sure this building does not fall down, and any new tech or AI or whatever it is a bit of a risk, really. There's this old joke that even the most innovative engineering firm wants to be first, to be second. Like, they don't want to be the leader of the pack. They'd much rather see other people fall down the holes and just carefully navigate it behind. So that, I think, is the innate skepticism of engineers who are conservative, even the most innovative, is one thing. The other big thing I think that we often see is the idea that buildings or infrastructure is fundamentally algorithmic in the way that it's designed. And I think a lot of people have this illusion that if you just plug in all the rules, all the regulations, all of the engineering textbooks from university, you could magic out a building at the other end. And I think the reality for anyone that's worked in engineering, actually trying to get projects built, is that you realize that alongside the technical aspects, there are so many layers of politics, negotiations, trying to weave together all these different conflicting priorities, oftentimes conflicting rules and regulations that don't even line up. So I think the reality of building is a very, very messy process that AI, tech, the tech bro isn't necessarily going to be able to unpick neatly.
Yeah, that makes sense. The other thing I've observed a lot is that, especially tech people who are kind of new to this space, they look at the documents. So they look at, the drawings, or they look at the permitting documents, or they look at, something really tangible that they can see. And they think the job is about doing the drawings, and they don't see all the other bits of the job that need to happen to get a project built. And they think, oh, if I can only just teach the AI to create these pieces of paper, basically that'll be enough, without missing, and that misses a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And what's crazy is that 2 lines on a drawing could come from almost an infinite number of different reasons and processes. So, it might have, this depth of a beam in a building might have just come out of the result of a calculation. An engineer ran a calc and got a beam depth that they drew up. Or it might have been this heavily negotiated issue with the mechanical team who needed to route their ducts around things, and therefore the beams needed to be this particular size. It might have been a result of chatting to steel fabricators who said that, if you have the size you originally drew, that's going to have to come from China, and that's got political delays now getting it shipped over from China. If you use American steel, you can get this, but it has to be this size. So there's so many reasons why things end up the way they are on drawings. And I think it's very hard then just to sort of almost back calculate from the drawing the reasons that went into it there.
Yeah. AGI gonna happen, or don't need to worry about it?
It will happen in patchiness. Some areas it'll be incredible at. I think a lot of any work that is grabbing data and mashing it around into a different output, I think AI is going to be incredible for. We will see how good it is at pushing the boundaries of human knowledge where there's no data to train on. I think that's a bit more of an open question.
What's the engineering task you are most excited about AI being able to automate in the future?
I wish it could take the burden away of all of the documentation that has to be done at the end of a process. Engineers love design, architects love design, but so much time is spent writing reports, compiling documentation, and No one loves that.
Great stories, great uses of AI, great to see what you are doing. If you're an engineer and you're using AI in a way that your peers would not believe, or if you know someone who is, we want them on the show. Please get in touch with us. That's AI Upstarts. See you next time.